Continuing on my Oscars watch for 2024, we watched Past Lives, the 2023 um, drama romance. Um, Kind of romance in the way that Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind was a romance. A movie clip of which is shown in this movie, so that the filmmaker was thinking about that as well. Um, so yes, this is uh, actually it opens. It's very interesting because it opens in, I guess, the present with a couple of people doing that people watching thing where they see three people across the way. It is a Korean, um, ethnically Korean woman, Korean man, and a white guy, and the two Koreans are talking to each other, and kind of the white guy is kind of being a little bit feeling a little looking kind of awkward there, and the woman, the Korean woman, is in between the two of them, looking rather wistful and and just kind of generally gorgeous uh, in that thing. And so that's the start of the movie. We flash back 24 years to where the young, the like 12 or whatever, 10 or year old um, Korean uh, girl and boy are together. Her family emigrates to America. She seems to have ambitions, the girl, and it goes from there. They reconnect again. I think it's 12 years later when they're both students, and that goes. They reconnect online, which is kind of makes it very modern. Though it's interesting watching the technology of that point. She's got a Apple Book Air at that point, and it's like, it's clunky, staticky, not staticky, but kind of low frame rate, um, kind of thing, and it's kind of romance, but it's a romance from a distance, and that eventually, they have separate lives, and they end up going their separate ways, and then we have another 12 years, and I guess we do lead back to this point in the present where they're meeting again, where she has a husband, this white Jewish guy who's also, they're both writers, and it's very much kind of an expression of, you know, you emigrate, you're an immigrant, and what you leave behind, what kind of a past, what kind of a life you've left behind, kind of life you could have had, kind of um, a weird, a very odd kind of melancholy. It's very much kind of, it's like this kind of suppressed underlying rom. There could have been a romance. There was sort of a romance, but it was at a distance. Um, it does a really good job of, I would imagine, of dramatizing, you know here's a real big juncture. You've jumped cultures. She's taken a different name. Her Korean is Rusty. um but this is done very delicately and very subtly, and it's not like, oh, will they or won't they. There's not like that kind of thing. There is some of the beats. I mean, there's a good sequence where you can tell, this is a movie that's actually trying to play fair, where the white husband, he says, like, well, if this was a romance thing, it's like, we have such a boring story together. Like, we met at a writer's retreat, we moved in to save rent. It's like we have a kind of pedestrian, but this is your past ex-lover from childhood sweetheart, and you've been separated in time, and now he's come back, and of course I'm the boring white guy that you're going to leave to kind of run off and have the grand romance. And this is a movie that has kind of the melancholy and the sadness, and they very much talk about the idea of past lives, like, you know two strangers who brush in a street. um, they have that little bit of contact, just to kind of an echo of, you know, 8,000 other lives that they've maybe had. This is an expression, an echo of that just brief fleeting contact is a part of that. You know, but at the same time as doing kind of this metaphorical stuff, you're also just like, oh, you can really feel like the Korean fellow, he's been kind of stuck on kind of a yearning for her. Like she's gone on, she's had a new life, but he's sort of been stuck for a while with that little girl when he was a little boy that he kind of fell in love with. And maybe the misfortune of them meeting online that kind of got rekindled, reignited, which maybe would have just stayed a memory, but now is just like it's kind of hung over him, and maybe kind of he seems kind of stuck. He seems kind of, for a hunk of the movie, he seems kind of almost juvenile, which is odd because she talks about him being very masculine in a Korean sort of way. Oh, I feel sorry for the husband in some of the scenes, because she talks about how Korean he is, and Korean and Korean and Korean and then Korean and then Korean. And it feels like, you know, you think it's like, oh, if it's a husband, I just like, if you say Korean one more time, I'm just going to shoot myself in the head, kind of that kind of a feel to it. But it's like, you know, it's the excluding, but it's kind of fair in how it allows him to feel that, but not be an asshole to, which, you know, he could have very easily been. He probably would have been in that kind of situation. But like, you know, to kind of like sympathetically portray that, because this is her life now. And, but there's still that sadness and that kind of sense of loss that comes with leaving that behind, even though she's gained and has a rich, interesting, important life to her in New York. In New York now. So yeah. A really good, really adult, kind of beautiful expression of that, of kind of an immigrant thing, but also just done with such detail and nuance that you can just think about, like, well, what if I'd never left Kelowna? What if I'd had that life? You know, what if I'd not moved in with Ja when I moved from Kelowna? Like, what would have different branches, and what that would have been like? You know, what I lost, what I gained, but you know how much I've gained. So yeah, really good, and it's, you know, that you can get that and just not be like, well, I'm not an immigrant, I don't get it. It's like, no, it does it in such a way that transports you there. All right, so yeah, that's Past Lives. Oh, now we just gotta wait for Oscar night, where all these apples and oranges that do not compare at all will get compared together and be given a meaningless award. All right, more videos later.